Happy wonderful Wednesday. It is Wednesday, May 13th, okay? Happy hump day, halfway through the week. Hope everyone's doing well and getting through this week fairly easy, all right? The sunshine, it's a beautiful day out there. I might go out and cut my grass later this afternoon when I'm done working. And I'm not going to lie, I'm really looking forward to that, all right? Especially since I kind of shoveled on Saturday. So I don't know if I've ever cut the grass and shoveled in, the same 5-day span. But hey, there's a first time for everything. All right, it's quarantine, it's lockdown time. There's been a ton of firsts we've all been dealing with here. All right, so folks, this is the last of our soups for the Intro to Culinary crew in our series on the different methods of preparation for soups. Okay, we've covered puree soup when we made our split pea. We did broth soup with our chicken and rice soup with all those wonderful vegetables in there. And the last one we're doing now is a cream-based soup. And next to chowder, in my opinion, the king of cream-based soups is tomato soup. All right? Now, tomato soup can technically be classified as a pureed soup in certain contexts. All right? You can make a tomato soup with no cream in it. But this particular version does have a good amount of cream in it. I prefer it that way. And what we're doing here is actually a hybrid of a few styles of tomato soups that I've enjoyed over the course of my career and had a chance to learn how to make. One being a wonderful tomato bisque soup that I learned to make in the kitchens at the Mount Washington Hotel back in the late 90s when I was in high school. And the other being the famed tomato cheddar soup from the Balsams Grand Resort that my buddy Bill used to call liquid pizza because it literally tasted like a liquefied version of pizza. It was delicious. But we're kind of we're morphing those two theories, and my remembrance of those soups together into one, which will be a really great finished product, kind of the best of all worlds in the tomato soup game. All right. Tomato soup for me is as all-American as apple pie. I have wonderful memories of a child having, grilled cheese and a tomato soup after sledding on a cold winter's day. Whenever I prepared my tomato soup myself from home, I'd use those little Campbell's tomato soups, and I always made it with the milk, and then I would burn it, and it would have that nasty scorched flavor. So we're going to avoid doing what 8-year-old chef did, making tomato soup after sledding. And we're going to really watch and be cautious not to make those similar types of errors, okay? Because 8-year-old chef didn't know what the hell he was doing, but soon to be 38-year-old chef 1 week from today does know what he's doing. All right, so we're going to take a look at the mise en place here and see what we have, look at our ingredients, and we're going to talk about the differences in pot sizes when we're making soup. Mise en place time. All right, we're starting off with our tomato product we're using here, okay? We went with the San Marzano tomatoes, which are imported from Italy, okay? San Marzano tomatoes are prized for being less acidic than a typical tomato. It's actually a variety of tomato, the San Marzano tomato, and they're a lot more sweet, okay? We have 2 cans of those, okay? We have some vegetable stock, okay, vegetable broth. We have some medium diced celery, some medium diced onions, some freshly chopped thyme, a bay leaf, red wine vinegar. If we recall, acids help elevate flavors without having to add so much salt to make it taste good. We have some rice in here, and we're going to use that as a thickening agent, and some shredded cheddar cheese to finish our soup with. So as you can see, we're not talking a ton of ingredients here. What do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 ingredients. That's not a ton. All right, now, mind you, 2 of those ingredients are the herbs. One of them is a cream, one of them is a tomato. So we're talking very simple things here that you may already have at home, and certainly are not very expensive at the grocery store and items you can buy anywhere, okay? Like we've discussed many times before, the best foods and the best dishes are just using honest and humble, simple ingredients that are prepared with respect, love, and kindness towards the food and the fundamental. All right? Always treat your food with respect. Now, this pan right here is what we would call a saucepan. All right? We can make soup in it, but only if we're making a very, very small quantity. A lot of people often pick the wrong sized pan for the job, and then they struggle with it. All right, make sure you're giving yourself plenty of room to work with. Give your the pan plenty of room to hold all the ingredients, so when it comes up to a simmer, it doesn't boil all over the place. All right. Today we're going to be using actually the stock pot, or that same pot that we've used for our last two soups. Okay. Don't be afraid. If you think it's not going to fit, go up a size. All right, so you can see we have our stock pot here, or our large saucepan. Okay, we're going to start with a little bit of olive oil in this pan. Okay, I have it preheated to medium. Okay, let's hope we don't smoke the place out. I've been doing that a lot lately. Okay, we'll get the celery going first. Okay, that takes a little longer to cook than the onions do. Got a wooden spoon here for stirring. Going to turn our heat down here a touch. You can see I have this pan over here to hold my utensils, because we don't want to drip them all over the place and getting hunks of food underneath the stove. I have a hard enough time keeping this thing clean. I love my new stove, but it's kind of a pain in the butt to take apart and clean. So I'm always looking for ways to work cleaner. Like always, we're going to season as we go. Okay, just a tiny bit of salt now. Now time for our onions. We're going to get them in there. This soup is not going to take a long time. It's probably going to be the quickest of our three soups that we've made so far in our virtual lessons here. And I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if we're not ending up being done in about 40 minutes, all right? This one doesn't take a long time, not at all. Tomatoes' worst enemy is prolonged exposure to heat. All right, long periods of hot temperatures and tomatoes, no good, no good. Little black pepper, right in the pot here, all right? Season her up. Now, we didn't have a set amount of oil that we put in the pan here to sweat our vegetables in. We just want enough so that they don't stick and it lubricates the bottom of that pan. If we were to put just a wildly extreme amount of oil in there, our soup's going to end up being greasy, and we don't want that. Why would we want this overly greasy soup? Gross. All right, so just enough to lubricate the bottom of the pan and prevent the vegetables from sticking. Now, as we're moving on to new units of learning for both of my culinary classes, I've been pulling out a lot of my books looking for some inspiration, all right? We're going to be going outside and doing a lot out on the grill now that the weather's getting a lot nicer, and most people have a grill at home, so I want to be able to share some skills that you can learn from these lessons and equate them into your home lives that your friends and family, and of course yourself, will enjoy having. Okay, I got this book over the course of the winter. It's called Charcoal. It's all about cooking over either direct coals or just grilling in general. Momofuku is a restaurant in New York City owned by a man named David Chang, and this book was really, really popular when it first came out. Has a ton of great ideas when it comes to varying different styles of Asian cuisines. All right, we have an Italian book here by Rick Tramonto, very well-known chef who spent the majority of his career in Chicago. And then we have The New Professional Chef. That is a textbook from the Culinary Institute of America. I've had that particular version for, I think, 18, 19 years now. And the classics never go out of style, and there's always great inspiration in there. All right. Now, back into the pot. Our vegetables, just getting a light touch of brown on there, which is okay. We want them to kind of go to that medium level, which is basically where they're at now. We don't want them too dark because we want this soup to kind of have more subtle tones to it. We don't want that caramelization to take over as the predominant flavor in this soup. All right. Now, the next thing that we're going to add in here actually is our vinegar. Red wine vinegar, it just pairs really well with the tomatoes. It makes sense. In our last soup, I believe we used apple cider vinegar, which is also another lovely vinegar. But I just feel like this one does better justice with the tomatoes and all the other ingredients in there. So we're not really going to measure this. We're probably just going to give it about a quarter cup or 3-4 tablespoons. Now, we're going to let that vinegar cook all the way down until it's dry, all right? Anyone remember that term? Au sec, A-U space S-E-C. It's French for to dry, all right? So we're going to cook that down until it's dry or almost dry, all right? And like we have learned, acids, when they cook down, they morph into sugars. So this vinegar is actually going to get quite sweet. A real old school fundamental French sauce is called gastrique, and it's a reduction of acid and sugar that cooks down together, whether it's vinegar or certain wines or a combination or both, and it cooks down into this thick, delicious, beautiful syrup that has, I guess you could call it kind of the French sweet and sour sauce to a degree. So the soup is going to have sweet tones to it with the cream and the tomatoes, but it's going to have that little bit of a tang in there. That vinegar is going to give it that added sensation of flavor enhancement that we can't get from salt. All right, and of course we want to avoid having so much salt. All right, if we look down in here, you can see that the pan is basically dry now here, all right? Fog it up, fog cam. All right, so all of that vinegar has now evaporated down and concentrated, and I'm sure it helps soften up those vegetables a little bit. Next we're going to do is we're going to add the rice. Rice. Why would we put rice in tomato soup? You know, the old dogs back in the day, they knew something we didn't. All right? They knew all the way back then, hundreds of years ago, that human beings were not supposed to constantly consume a ton of flour and wheat. All right? Rice is going to act as the thickening agent for this soup instead of using a roux. Okay? And it adds a nice mouthfeel to it. This soup is going to be completely pureed, and the rice helps thicken the soup up. And it just gives it a little bit of a dimension to the thickness that is a lot lighter than that of thickening it with a flour-based thickener or even cornstarch-based thickener, all right? So those guys knew way back in the day something, and we probably should have listened until our society went mad over consuming too much wheat, and people started developing sensitivities to it and intolerances to it. We should have paid attention and learned from the past, all right? There's always something to learn from history and what transpired in the past. All right, we're going to let that rice kind of toast up a little bit in the bottom of that pan, too. It'll just give it a little bit of a nuttiness to its flavor, but not too long. We don't want the rice to really brown up too much or potentially burn, or the vegetables to burn. The next thing that's going to go in, had to give this a stir. I ain't going to let it burn while we're talking about not letting it burn. And it's ready. It's going to be the vegetable stock, okay? I'm going to dump in about half of this. So I'm going to save the other half for a second. You're going to see why. Okay? Next goes in our tomato product. Get them all right in there. These are whole peeled San Marzano tomatoes with a little bit of tomato puree in there. And then we take our remaining stock and we rinse the cans out. Okay? It's a lot of love on the inside of those cans. Got to do the old swirly. Okay. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I used to love doing this when I was a kid when my mother and my father were making sauce. Okay, it just seemed fun to me. It was like licking the paddles off the hand blender after my mother made whoopie pies or something. We never called them whoopie pies. I never heard that term in my life until I moved to New Hampshire. My mother and grandmother called them black moons. She still does to this day. All right? Ma, I love you, Black Moons. I hope you can make me a batch when I can actually see you again. Thanks for those ones you made last fall. They were awesome. I'm a professionally trained pastry chef too, and I can't make those things as good as my mother. All right, most likely psychologically, no disrespect, Ma, but I am saying yours are the best. All right, damper rinse pretty well dry. In they go. Give this a stir. We're going to go in with our bay leaf now, okay? Only one this time, and we're going to count it in, count it out. 1. We certainly need to make sure that it comes out of there because we're pureeing the soup. Now, our thyme, we're going to put that in later. We're not going to put that in now. We added ingredients. We got to add a little more seasoning. Salt. Kosher always. Pepper. Freshly ground, of course. Don't ever buy the pre-ground stuff. It's trash. It's stale. It's gross. Either grind your own. You can get one of those little like Hamilton Beach coffee grinders, or again, I like these guys. $2, Ocean State Job Lot, baby. This thing's gonna last me 2 months. Okay, break it down. $2, 2 months, 50 cents a month. Give me a break. That's 2 cents a day, less than 2 cents a day to have fresh cracked black pepper. If you can't afford that, you're not managing your coin properly, all right? Manage your money, get the good stuff. All right, and we're back. After we added that last bit of ingredients, all right, our bay leaf and our stock, we brought this soup up to the simmer, and it's been about 30 minutes, which, if you recall, is our minimum simmering time for most soups, okay? Our split pea went significantly longer due to the dry ingredients in there. And if you recall, our chicken and rice was just right about 30 minutes. So we need to make sure that everything does have enough time, all right, in the party pot over here, that on the flavor party pot, everything can come together and marry well together and adjust good together and harmonize together to achieve the desired flavor that we're looking for. Okay, so we're going to take a look down in the pot here, and you're going to see kind of that the rice has bloomed up a little bit, and everything just seems pretty happy in there. Whoa, and here we go. Look at this. Steaming away. Look at that. It's cooked down. All right. We're going to take a look for the rice and see if that rice is fully cooked. Okay. Appears to be. Looks like it to me. All right. So that rice is fully bloomed and absorbed all the liquid and the flavor. And the tomatoes and the vegetables have all softened up and everything's come together quite nicely. Okay. So now our next step is going to be to add the thyme. And our cream. Woo, look at that pour. Woo. Now it's going to lighten up the color of the soup and give us that more kind of traditional tomato soup color. Okay, see that? Because after all, it doesn't. We don't want it to feel like we're eating a cup or a bowl of marinara sauce or just plain tomato sauce now, do we? Oh, what was that? What was that? Oh, look at that guy. We are actually, since we just seen him, we're going to take out that bay leaf now, all right? It's done its work, okay? All of its heavy lifting is done, so bay leaf coming out. 1. Now we're going to give the soup a taste, but bear in mind its flavor is going to be a little different once everything's pureed up and chopped up super fine and silky smooth. So I'm just looking for it to taste good. Maybe not necessarily great at this point. We're going to do our finish seasoning later, but it should certainly have close to its desired flavor now if we've done everything right, which I'm pretty sure that we have, or at least I would hope so at this stage of my career. It's pretty tasty. But I'm just going to hit it with a little sprinkle of salt right now and another crack of black pepper, and then we're going to be ready for a puree party, all right? Salt. Go with the moonshot, all right? And boom, boom. Being a little dramatic here. I'm in a good mood. It's a beautiful day. And I'm getting a chance to participate in something really, really cool later today that I'm super excited about. That's a secret. So I'm not going to tell you. Not even you. All right, so I kicked the heat off of the stove. That soup is simmering plenty now, and now it's time to puree. Okay, and we're bringing our friend over here. This is Mr. Vitamix, okay? Mr. Vitamix is the Rolls Royce of food blenders, okay? This bad boy right here, I swear, can grind boulders into beach sand. Now, we're not going to do that, but we do grind pepper in here to get our own freshly ground pepper. It's great for pureeing soups, smoothies, emulsifications, salad dressings, and all kinds of stuff. It is definitely worth the $400 that it cost. And I'll tell you, it's even a good investment for at home. They last a lifetime, and there's really nothing on the market that even comes close. All right, but if you don't have a VitaPrep, which I'm not thinking many of you do, but who knows, my buddy Davis has got one. All right, I talked him into it. He loves it. He uses it all the time, and he's broke. Well, actually, I'm more broke than he is. But anywho, love you, Davis. You're the man. Okay, VitaPreps are great, or any standard bar blender would work good too. Okay, now, the more economical road is using one of these guys. The stick immersion blender, okay? We got a whole bunch of these at school. You can get them for like 15, 20 bucks at Walmart or any type of big box store or Amazon, you know, the delivery box store. Those guys are just making a killing right now. Jeez. But we got a bunch of these at school, and I had one for 10 years. It died this past fall. But, you know, it was 20 bucks, and it lasted that long, 10 years, okay? And this guy does a good job, but our friend Mr. VitaPrep is going to get it significantly more smooth than this guy will. But these guys do a great job, too. Okay, so VitaPrep, all set. Pot of soup, ready to go. Ladle, okay? We're going to ladle the soup into here. It's going to take probably, I don't know, 2, maybe 3 runs. Maybe 3. We're not going to overdo it, but we're going to get this soup ladled into here, okay? And we're going to show you how this bad boy works. I'm going to take my blender cup and kind of bring it over here. It's mobile. All right, you can also use it as a water pitcher. Whip up some Kool-Aid in this bad boy, who knows?
Oh, yeah.
Might actually only be 2 runs. Okay. Try not to make a mess. All right. Remember, any mess made needs to be cleaned. So if you don't make a mess, you don't have to clean a mess. All right. So we're in here, and we're going to move our adjustable variable speed dial all the way down. Okay. Make sure that we're on. The blue light's on, but let's off, on. Okay. This toggle switch over here is for down is variable speed, up is high. And this is the on-off switch. So we're on low variable speed at our lowest setting, and we're gonna I'm always nervous, all right? I'm terrified that the top is just gonna blow off of this thing. I have made some messes in my lifetime with the VitaPrep, all right? So we'll get it going. All right, yep, see, it's starting off slow here. Okay, now we'll kick up that speed. Gradually bring it up, okay? We're going heavy, we're going heavy, we're going fast! Oh! That's not all she's got. This thing's got a turbo
gear, all right? It's like turning on the nitrous bottles on your drag racer. Boom! I don't want to get soup splattered all over me. We'll leave that cover on. Turn it back down to low. Now, we're going to take all the way back down, back to our starting spot, and kick it off.
Now we're going to transfer our soup back to our friend small saucepan for finishing, okay? And by finishing, that's our final seasoning. We may need another splash of vinegar in there and to add our cheddar cheese, okay? I don't want to put the soup back into the pot that it just came out of because there might be little hunks of rice and whatnot. We're looking to be silky smooth, okay? Like literally as smooth can be, okay? So we're going to finish pureeing this up. And then we're going to do our little finishing techniques with this, and then taste and finish for final presentation.
All right, we are all pureed up, and we are so satisfyingly silky smooth here. Ooh, yeah. Okay.
Ooh, look at that. That is gorgeous, okay? Like, if I had a big enough, like, pool to fill with tomato soup, I'd bathe in it, okay? No, actually, I probably wouldn't do that, but I think it'd be pretty cool if you could pull it off once. All right, so the cheddar cheese, we're going to sprinkle that in a little bit at a time. Cheese is a finicky bugger. It can get gritty and grainy when it's not treated properly. So we're just going to add a little bit at a time. Let it slowly melt and incorporate into the soup, and then on to finished seasoning. All right, so I think we nailed it. All right, and when I say nailed it, to me, this is what a tomato soup should taste like. It's super simple, just slight cheddar undertones at the end. It just adds a little richness. Okay, it's creamy. It tastes like tomatoes. It's got a nice little tang to it. The seasoning's good. It's creamy. It tastes like tomato, obviously. But we're going to give it one last final taste to make sure it's good. Okay? Fancy tasting spoons. These like fancy plastic ones. Okay? Our consistency is nice. It's not too thin, okay? But it's also not too thick. All right? See that? All right? Steaming up. I taste like I just got off the sled hill at behind the elementary school in Massachusetts. Again, my apologies. I'm a reformed masshole. Reformed, okay? I'm like a born-again New Hampshire guy now. It tastes just like that to me. Now, not exactly like that, but the taste and the flavor brings back those great memories to me, all right? We as humans, we have an emotional connection with food, or at least I have an emotional connection to food, all right? Certain things that I've had in certain places, when I have them again in a different place, it brings back memories of that, okay? Bread and butter pickles to me just makes me think of my Nana's house down at the beach, because she'd always have bread and butter pickles out on the table at lunchtime, all right? Tomato soup, to me, that's sledding, all right? I made a video the other day, a lesson on beef stroganoff, and that brings me back to my apprenticeship, okay? Every little thing that you do in food, I like it to be able to tell a story. I like for it to have meaning. I like for it to have some type of a feeling or an emotional connection. I think it's important, okay? I think it's very important. I think it's important on a number of levels, okay? It helps you remember. It helps you remember good things. It helps put you in a great mood. All right. And I believe that all of us kind of need a little something more to put us in a better mood right now and to bring back memories of greater days. Now, we're very, very fortunate in our community that we've had basically a little to no contact from the pandemic up here. I think there's been 1 or 2 documented cases in our entire county, all right? And I know I'm very grateful for that. So, but I know there's still a lot of unease. There's still a lot of nervousness. There's a lot of anxiety floating around. Like, what if there's somebody I know who gets sick? What if it happens to my neighbor? What if it happens down the street? And, there's definitely cause for concern there, folks. But don't be afraid. Okay, don't be afraid. Do not fear. All right, you can't live your life in fear. All right, everything we do in life requires an element of risk, and you cannot be afraid. All right, and you certainly can't be afraid to fail. I tell people in all of my classes that don't ever be afraid of food. Don't be afraid of making a mistake. Don't be afraid of burning something. It's part of the learning process. I burned my way to success. All right. And I kind of stole that line from my mentor, Chef James. He used to say, I served a lot of crap to get to where I am today. He didn't use the word crap, but hey, we're trying to keep this PG rated here in Chef's Quarantine Kitchen. So try not to use all of the words that I would generally use in my kitchen vocabulary from time to time. But we're going to hit this with a little bit of salt. A little salt to finish up. A couple cracks of black pepper. Just a little bit more. Final taste. Bang. It's all there. Tastes like liquid pizza, Billy. I wish you were up here. I'd send you off a quart container to your house. This makes me want to, slap a grilled cheese on the griddle and dunk that bad boy right in there. But I do got to get running. We're cutting this one short, guys. I told you it wasn't going to be a long one. And I have that event I need to go get to. All right? Look forward to seeing you guys as soon as we can. All right? The finish line is closed, 3.5 weeks, okay? I stressed this in one of my other lessons, okay? First and last impressions, how you start and how you finish is so important that if you fail to start good or if you fail to finish good on something, you can ruin all that great work that you did in between. So I'm going to urge everybody to give it your best these last 3.5 weeks. Okay, really, punch the throttle and get after it. You got 15 weeks of summer vacation to rest up and go enjoy yourself and kind of take your mind off of school, take your mind off of remote learning, and try to get back to normal a little bit. But I'm really encouraging you to give it your best right now. Give it your all. All right, don't back off. Pedal to the metal. Go get after it. Okay, guys? So I want you to just keep cooking good. Peace.